I think that it's so important to have someone, let it be me, let it be Bianca, remind you that hope is what's going to be that light that will continue to help carve that path forward for you. But not if you don't let it, not if you're not willing to be vulnerable.
It makes it so that the opportunity to actually be hopeful, it like goes away. Because being hopeful is scary. Being hopeful, you're risking getting hurt. And what I see with a lot of clients is it's so much easier to just believe it'll never happen because at least you won't get hurt that way because you're anticipating it. Hey everybody, it's Bianca.
And this is Emilia.
And welcome to another episode of Evolve Ventures, where we are making evolution possible for growth-minded humans just like every single one of you through vulnerable lessons, stories, and technology. I hope you enjoyed, or we hope you enjoyed, last week's episode, Love Looks Different to Us All. If you heard that episode, you heard me and Emilia were definitely in a different energy in that episode. So
it was a vibe.
It was a vibe and a half. So I hope you were able to get the benefit and the value of it. I think it really was a good episode to get us started for this Love February. So today, episode number 163, Motivation Monday, how to find more hope. The reason I wanted to do this episode and where this episode really came from was honestly my own experiences, but also a lot of the experiences that I have with clients. Something that I find that is just so easy is to be skeptical. Like honestly, it is way too easy to be skeptical, especially in situations where you've had a lot of quote unquote failure. You've had a lot of mishaps, or in an arena in your life where you really have this belief holding you that like what you want is never going to happen in this arena. And one of the ones that I know that really plays out in my life is the belief that love is never going to happen. So I'm working I'm working my way out of it, and I'm really doing a lot of that deep inner work to transform that belief and to work through that belief. But where that belief came from was a lot of experiences that this thing it doesn't happen. Like good love, like really good love, not for me. I never had it in like family. I never had it in relationships. I never had it in friendships. So I'm having all of this evidence there telling me this, right? Just reinforcing that belief. And on some of like the darkest nights of my life, because it's not during the daytime when like you're out and you're busy and you're doing stuff that these beliefs start to hit you, right? It's when it's 9:30 at night and you're laying on the couch unwinding for the day. And it's like that voice in your head just starts popping up and it's like, hey, remember all of your deepest fears?
Yeah.
It's time to play. We're going to come out now. And it's like, honestly, it's like when you least want them to come up. It's like when you are your most vulnerable, right? When your like cognition is a little bit lower, when you're emotionally spent at the end of the day, it's when all of these beliefs start to come out. And when your skepticism is probably a lot higher because you don't have the bandwidth to fight it anymore. And I've noticed in my own life, it was at night and it was in those times when all of those really dark limiting beliefs and those cognitive distortions, right? We've done a bunch of episodes on that, have started to come out. And so for me, one of the biggest ones was this cognitive distortion of confirmation bias, right? Well, love isn't going to happen for me because it never has. And I have no evidence to show me. And I've had all of these terrible experiences. And my role model of an amazing relationship, they're just weirdos, right? Alan and Emilia, right? Like they're just magical, mystical beings. And it happened for them, but not for me, or everyone else on our team, but not for me, right? It's this confirmation bias where we're looking for every piece of evidence to actually support that thing that we already believe. And it just further reinforces that belief that we already have.
Yeah.
It's too easy to be skeptical. it's too easy not to have hope, because having hope is really, really hard, especially for someone like me, right? And if you're listening, you're probably like that too. It's very rare that you meet like a really optimistic person like Emilia. She and I, we really balance each other well in that, and that she's like extremely optimistic about a lot of things, and I'm a little bit more on the pessimistic side. Not like in a negative, condescending way or anything like that, but just like the way we see the world is a little bit different. And it's good in certain arenas, but it's really harmful in other ones. And having that pessimism, which is reinforced by all of this information that, you know, we take in and everything that we look for to just validate the belief we already have, it makes it so that the opportunity to actually be hopeful, it like goes away.
Yeah.
Because being hopeful is scary. Being hopeful, you're risking getting hurt. And what I see with a lot of clients is it's so much easier to just believe it'll never happen, because at least you won't get hurt that way because you're anticipating it. Like being hopeful hurts.
Yeah, it does. And I think that that's, you know, it's par for the course. I think that if you're someone that is really needing hope in whatever arena, even like I know that, you know, this topic is a little bit more geared towards love and intimacy and closeness and partnership or whatever that is for you. I also believe this conversation is actually quite applicable like across the board. And
100%.
I think that like the cognitive distortion that you had mentioned, you know, like that not only jumping to conclusions because of the evidence that you have, but it's also like it shouts out like or shuts out really quickly all of the evidence to the contrary. So a skeptic, someone who is reluctant to believe. A cynic is someone who refuses to believe. A pessimist is someone who has given up on believing. And I want our audience and everyone who's listening to kind of think about like, okay, where do you tend to kind of lean? Are you someone who like, when you go out and try to even like try on the thought of like dating, let's say, for example, you need more hope in the dating arena. Are you reluctant to believe it's even possible for you, or that it'll even be worth it? Or are you someone who refuses to believe because those cognitive distortions are really at play at night, where it's like, nope, this is not going to happen. I refuse to believe that I'm going to attract my dream partner, which I know at one point be like your parts were definitely coming in and saying. Or are you someone that kind of now, because of your experience in your journey, you're finding yourself who has actually given up all hope, and you have that evidence and you're letting those parts really drive any opportunity that could be on the table for you in your day-to-day that could start to unveil the contrary evidence. And this is where, for anyone who really does need to find more hope in their life, especially as it comes around this intimate area, right? It's so easy to be skeptical. It's so easy to be a pessimist. Like it's more easy to be those three than it is to be optimistic, right? Especially if you have a whole lineup of evidence that can point to failure, right? But the thing is, and this is what I love about this concept, hope is one of the most beautiful character traits that all of us can develop. And what I've found in my coaching is that when you go out and you find hope, oftentimes people believe that they have to go out on this journey to like, it's going to be out on some apple tree and they're going to pick it and they're going to be able to bite into it and they're going to be able to like feel it in their bodies. When in all reality, not only does the data show, but the stories, the experiences show that hope is cultivated inside. Hope is a level of self-efficacy that we have. Hope is opening up to the willingness to be hurt a little bit. Hope is knowing that there might be some pain and leveraging the courageous parts of us that might not be super strong, that might not be a superhero right now for yourself, but being willing to cultivate and assign anything that you do try to do in this arena and assign that back to you and say, I did this. For example, if you're someone that is single, right? And you might be feeling like B was saying on the last episode, a little petty around this time frame, right? You go into CVS, you see all the stuff, you're starting to see people's cute photo, and you start to have like this angst coming about you, and you're like, the pettiness is the surface level version of like the deep like reservoir of like, kind of like, man, I wish I had that too. Or man, like when is it going to be my turn? Or man, like, why can't it just happen now? I'm so impatient, right? Like I'm so hurt that it's not now. I'm hurt that that's not me, right? But the hope is having the willingness to know that at one point, when you continue to look at this moment and say, this moment, not only will it never happen again, but I will continue to try, and I will not give up on myself. And every single time that I walk by a CVS, I'm going to let it inspire me to what you've done, B. And you talked about this on a last episode. No, it wasn't last episode. It was like, I honestly, maybe even a year ago, deciding to change the way and what this month means to you, and change the way that you look at it, and be open to maybe putting yourself out there just a little bit more, and changing what the meaning of this time of the year means to you, and what hope can be cultivated in the small day-to-day actions, right? For you to assign to yourself, I, Bianca, I insert your name, am willing to try and try again, and to never give up on myself. Because at the end of the day, all you have is you. I don't like, whether you're in a relationship or not, you know, like having and cultivating that hope, it is a skill, but all of us are capable of doing that. And even when we're in our darkest moments, I think that it's so important to have someone, let it be me, let it be Bianca, remind you that hope is what's going to be that light that will continue to help carve that path forward for you. But not if you don't let it, not if you're not willing to be vulnerable, to be open to what is all of that uncertainty that comes on the other side. Because, and I could argue, if I wasn't willing to have hope, even after all of my failed relationships, I would not be where I am today. In one of the most fulfilling, challenging, and like extraordinary relationships I've ever been in, not just intimately, but also in my mission partners, in my friendships, in my client relationships that I have. You know, like it's a lot easier to be pessimistic, to be skeptic, and to be cynical. What's a lot harder is to be optimistic when there might not be hope. And so I hope that my signature strength of optimism can be cultivated your way, and you can realize that you cultivating hope for you is the best thing that you'll ever do in your life.
One sentence, we'll both say one. What is one way that people can start cultivating more hope? One sentence.
Do things for you and no one else.
What I will say is start identifying the belief that's holding you from seeing that there is more hope out there. Because there's some belief in you that's keeping you stuck in that hopeless space. I also want to, you said something about being in the arena, and you talked about courage and vulnerability. So I want to read the Man in the Arena speech.
Oh, I love that. By the way, that was 2 sentences, B. So like, I'm just saying. No, okay.
That was 1 sentence. It was just a run-on sentence.
Gotcha.
Don't at me.
Yep.
Don't at me.
One of the most powerful quotes. I'm so glad that you're bringing that up. Let's hear it.
I don't say it as well as Brene Brown does, but I'm going to do my best. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man or woman who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again because there is no effort without error or shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends themselves in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if they fail, at least fails while daring greatly. Every time I hear that quote and that speech, I get the chills, because it is so easy to be hopeless. It takes no effort. But the courage to actually have hope is scary and it is risky. But without hope, you will never get the things that you want. And I know if it weren't for me having hope, I wouldn't have met Emilia and Alan and Kevin and gotten to every point in my life that I'm at right now that I cherish and love so deeply. So to everyone out there, I know how easy it is to feel hopeless because I'm still battling that battle of this too. But I also know the benefit of what it does when you do start to work through those beliefs that are holding you. And when you do, to Emilia's point, start doing those things for yourself that help you to believe that hope is real. Episode suggestion?
Real quick, last thing. On that, the real meaning of hope, it's to cherish a desire with anticipation, right? If you allow that anticipation to die in the vine, you cannot cherish that which is not there. And I think that hope is a really sacred thing because there's a level of cherishing to it. And so I absolutely adore that quote as well. And I think it's absolutely right. It's a lot easier to be a victim of your circumstances, especially when you don't know what beliefs are holding you back, right? But it's a lot harder to recognize that you have some belief systems that need some work, and that's where we come in. That's where we help each one of you work into your belief systems and realize how that might be dictating and guiding your behavior and inhibiting you from actually getting what you want, from actually being the man, woman, person that you aspire to be, right? The leader, the mom, the dad, like that's in the way. And you are so capable of removing that which is in your way, but not without hope. My episode suggestion for our listeners is 154. Are you seeing clearly? What's yours?
125. A simple way to silence your inner critic. We do have a little bit of exciting news. So we don't have all of the information out to the public yet, but dear listener, we want to share with you that coming down the pipeline, we do have Evolve Ventures group coaching. So by the end of Q1, meaning by the end of March, we are going to be launching group coaching. It is going to be a small, intimate group where Emilia and I are going to be working directly hand in hand with that select group of people on really breaking the patterns and the beliefs and all of the negativity that is keeping that group stuck. So we are going to have more information coming out soon. We are putting all the beautiful final finishing touches on it, and that information is going to be out for you soon. So if you are interested, if you have had experience after experience of trying to get help and it didn't work and you're on that last straw of like, I need something to work, I guarantee this will be that for you. So if you are interested in that, be on the lookout for more information. Send a message to Emilia and I. We will send you what we can, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.